this is Dee, and this is Bear, and he's going to enjoy a trim today. So I'm going to start my clipper, and I'm going to put it on the highest setting. It's a 2-speed clipper. I'm going to lift his back foot. With a 30 blade, I'm going to gingerly get some of this overgrowth of hair out very carefully and clean out that foot. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on it, but I do want it cleaned out. For around the bottom, the sanitary area, and the face. I'm going to go ahead and do those areas now while I've got this blade on. And on the face, I'm going to use a lower setting. Watch out. Sometimes I pull back on the top of the head and pull its skin back just a little so I can clean out this area. Good boy, Bearsy. Lots of treats afterwards. And clean that out right now before the bath. And the same under the tail. A lot of hair. I'm not taking it bald back here. Right now, I'm just going to try to eliminate the major amount of hair growth. Now I'm going to do the abdomen, the sanitary area, by raising the dog up on a higher amount. Again, we're not going to scrub the skin. This can be done with several different blades. He's got mats in here, so he's a little bit ticklish about it. And again, you're not going to scrape, you're just going to do this in a gingerly fashion. Never want to use your blade this way, and never scrubbing. Lift a leg here. There. It's just a matter of debris having gotten caught in there. You don't want to cause any kind of injury here. Okay. Good. Okay, so I'm going to use the 4F, and I'm going to start behind the neck, right above the shoulders. Predominantly, that's because the hair growth generally grows in most dogs toward the back. He's not a typical Yorkie in the sense that he has a much harsher coat than most Yorkies do. And I'm taking it in small amounts here. And I pull the skin upward to lengthen the skin, and so I can allow my clippers to actually cut the base of the hair. Doing any fine work with this length of blade, it's basically sculpting and getting him prepared for the bath. So I'm evening up his hair coat with the number 4F again. I'm going to lift that back leg and allow an extension of it so that I can see how his angulation is and roughly get the hair coat off of that. As I say, this is a roughen. I'm trying to get a uniformity of length. That's why I'm not switching off my clipper blades. I want to cut down on the leg like this, pulling the skin up. You want to be very careful not to catch this front area in the clipper head. But you want to get the hair cut. And you want to do the same on the belly, not coming too far underneath. And we're always coming down toward the feet. That's the way you need to learn to use your clippers in order to avoid accidents of any kind. Come down toward the feet. Again, this flap of skin here is very delicate, and when you stretch the leg out like this, it becomes vulnerable to being cut. He's not very happy about having his feet done, nevertheless. We'll persevere. Under the chin, and lift the collar up just a bit. And it's plenty loose. It's loose enough that he's not choking. And we're going to re-examine those areas that we cut. Always make sure to feel to see how warm your blade is getting. If it gets too warm, you either want to switch out blades or put a different blade on for a different area and work on a different area until this blade is cooled. So far this one's doing fine. It's because it's well oiled, and the care of blades is very important in order to keep them functional. Start just about where the occiput is, which is a little bone in the very back of the head here, and you can feel it no matter how much hair they've got. Every dog has it, and I'm starting just slightly above that, the 4F clipper head, and I'm sculpting around the underside of his neck in the way that the hair grows, so that it's a natural looking. He'll, as he grows, it'll become even a nicer trim. That's the goal. Where my blending needs to be to make a less remarkable stop between what's trimmed and what needs to be trimmed. Okay. Being mindful of where the end of the tail is, which is there. We can do this with scissors. I like to do as much clipper work as I possibly can. And for beginners, it's much easier to do it with the clippers and safer. So, I'm trying to get a uniformity of length. That's why I'm not switching off my clipper blades. And then we'll finish roughing them in with the scissors. If the hair coat is dirty and you're doing the roughing in, you want to make sure you're not using your finest scissors, of course. We want to make sure that the face is pretty well brushed out. This is a double-sided greyhound comb that I've had for about 40 years. They still make them, and I like it because of the rounded back. Very easy on your hands, and I'm going to use the wider part first to check to see if there are any little knots, which there are. Usually around the nose, the muzzle here. Good boy, Bear. Being careful not to gouge around the eyes. You can bring the hair back over the eyes to see what it would look like if he were in the wild. Pull it out with your comb by going in with the teeth and then pulling it away from the base of the skin. I want to make sure that you've weeded out predominantly the wider side first, then now I'm using the finer side. And I'm taking my little scissors. Some of you may want to use the scissors with the rounded tips, which are safer. And I'm trimming some of the bulk of the eyebrow. And I'm coming down away from the eye with my scissors, being careful not to take all the hair from the top of the eye, because that's going to really make his appearance look strange. But I don't want to go above the line from inner eye to inner eye. That leaves me enough after the bath that I can kind of fix it with a few snips here and there. But I've gotten the majority of the hair away from irritating the eye. Make a pleasant looking face, and he has a nice hair coat again. So I'm going to trim this shorter, and the mouth is here, so I'm going to go just below that because he tends to get nasties in his muzzle. And I'm going to go toward the ear tip. Now that's not the actual ear tip. I'll show you where that ear tip is. It's very important not to cut the ear tips with either your scissors coming into the face. You can see all this under here. But the ear actually ends, I can feel the leather right to here. And you'll see, if you pull the hair apart, just exactly where that ear tip ends, right there. So you have maybe a half-inch of overgrowth from the end of the ear. And because he's a little messy when he eats, I like to figure out where that is, put my fingers right on it so I don't miss, and come right to the end of that ear. And then I pull the ear up like so, and you can see how the leather is so apparent from the underside, and contour the ear that way. Now with him, he does not have much hair at all growing on the interior of his ears, which is a blessing for him. But I'm certainly going to clean this away with probably the thinning shears. I can start by using my straight edge and come down this way, going again toward the floor. But we've begun the contour of the face. And you can see it needs some fixing here and there. However, for him being roughed in, you can certainly change his expression in many different ways by using the thinning shears to get that expression. One of the reasons among other reasons, I like to do the rough-in work before, and all the close work, like under the tail, the potty area, everything like that, is in the event that there's some irritation caused by the clipper, the bath will soothe those areas, and you'll have a lot less negative reaction from the skin if it were going to react to some things. I know some dogs just don't have adverse reactions to the clipping, but some do, and why take a chance? An ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. Pulling down the longer hairs, which did not get caught by the clipper, in order to get them. For contouring, I'm using a mix of straight edges. This is an 8.5, which I prefer, and you can get, if you're going to buy one scissor, I would recommend just the 8.5. Again, a durable one. And then we're contouring the feet a little bit. I'm going to sculpt around the foot. What I refer to as invisible lines that I follow to cause an even leg. In the old days, we called it posting. And it's to draw two parallel lines, one on the inside of the leg and one on the outside of the leg, and to even up the hairs so that it occurs to you that the legs eventually look just like posts. Handy comb, I'm pulling out the hair away from the skin, which gives me a better idea of where the length is, and try to manufacture a little bit of contour. And we have a little bit of fun stuff here to trim. Anything that isn't pleasing to the eye. I'm brushing the tail down to find out what's basically sticking out, because you can see the whorls in the bottom, and that's most dogs have that. And then I'm pulling down the hairs on the end of the tail and cutting off inordinate stuff so that you have a clean looking tail. Okay, so I'm brushing the dog out after the bath to make sure that all the little tiny pin mats are out. I love this brush. It's got a curved spine, and that allows me to follow the contours of his body with the brush and get it all fluffed out so that I can see what areas I need to polish up. And we're going to start at the base of the foot again, brushing I'm using a brush with plastic tips on it because he's very sensitive. For being a hard-coated dog, he's not technically hard-coated, but his particular coat is hard for a Yorkie, who's supposed to have a very soft coat. The underpinnings, and I'm gently sculpting it with caution to the rib. The dog is going to be, if he's not obese, is going to be somewhat thinner through here, and his spring of rib is going to make the contour necessarily a little fuller on the rib cage, the lower portion of the rib cage. So you want to accentuate that. That's part of his natural beauty. 4F, a finishing blade for finish work. And I'm going to basically go over everything I did initially on the dog. This time I'm going to start just back of the occiput in short strokes. Getting the skin caught so I get into all the nooks and crannies. Even out some of the hairs that are kind of inordinately standing. That's me holding by the chin most often, which is a safe thing to do. I just take a few hairs at the bottom of the chin here, and I'm just going to cut. I've got this little top knot. There we go. Leveling under the chin again. Not to mention that you're going to want to just contour just a little bit more. Now, as you go, you can do finish work, and again, using the thinning shears might be the way to go initially until you get used to using the straight edge shears. You find it's a lot easier to fix quote-unquote mistakes with thinning shears than it is to try to accomplish that same end with 8-inch or 8.5-inch straight shears. Okay, so now we're fluffing out, and you can see we're adding some contour to the legs and the parts that get matted under here a lot. And we're just defining the foot a little more, refining the hairs on it just a little bit more.